Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, a monster day for Billy Napier. The Florida Gators coming out of the recruiting trail, landing not one, not two, but three separate commitments, all coming Wednesday afternoon. I think the kind of crown jewel of the day coming from four-star defensive back Demetres Samuel Jr., not only committing to the Florida Gators, also announcing that he's reclassifying to the 2025 cycle. This is massive, for a couple of different reasons. One, I'm a massive fan of Demetres Samuel Jr. I'm a massive fan of how he fits into this Austin Armstrong defense. But I think more importantly, you start looking at the defensive back class for this Florida Gators program, specifically at the safety position, and say, hey, we needed to get a couple in this 2025 cycle. Demetres Samuel Jr. reclassifying to 2025, committing to the Florida Gators. This answers a lot of question marks about Florida's class in 2025, specifically in the back end. I think more importantly, Demetres Samuel not just reclassifying. One, I love the prospect. I think more importantly, this is a guy that fits Austin Armstrong's defense exceptionally well. You look at what Austin Armstrong wants to do on the defensive side of the football. There's no secret about it. He wants to bring pressure. When you're going to bring pressure with your front seven, blitzing linebackers, blitzing nickelbacks, it kind of forces your safeties to have to come up and play man coverage. You look at Demetres Samuel Jr., what stands out to me the most is the cornerback film is exceptional. I feel really good about Demetres Samuel being a safety that can come up and play man coverage, which is extremely rare at the college football level. There are a lot of safeties who might be good at the positions, but might be a liability in man coverage. Demetres Samuel Jr., he's certainly not that. That's exactly what Austin Armstrong needs in this Florida Gators defense. Going to get into the film of Demetres Samuel. Talk about the other two commitments for the Florida Gators. Before we do, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the Florida Gator fans, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, whether we're previewing 2024, the amount of support, the Go Gators in the comments section, that stuff, it means the world to the boys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Demetres Samuel Jr. And I think the first thing you want to talk about is kind of answering the questions of, is he going to be able to reclassify and find success right away? I'm not too worried about that. When you look at the measurables, 6 foot, 185 pounds, he's a little bit more physically developed than a lot of the 2025 kids we saw in this cycle. And so from a physicality standpoint, you feel pretty good that Demetres Samuel Jr. is going to be able to reclassify, go into his senior year, and kind of just carry himself like a 2025 kid, which is not always the case when you see guys reclassifying. I think secondly, really good prospect. More importantly, really good fit in this Austin Armstrong defense. Again, I think it's highlighted by really two different things. One, the man coverage. Secondly, the ball skills. You look at Austin Armstrong, one of the things that we've been banging the table for heading into 2024, can we generate a little bit more turnovers heading into the 2024 season? I think a lot of that comes out of the safeties, just kind of being a little bit more ball hockey. You look at Demetres Samuel Jr., this is a guy that had multiple interceptions during his sophomore year of high school, also plays wide receiver, so the ball skills are really, really good. When that football's in the air, Demetres Samuel Jr. is very, very comfortable going up and taking away the football, which is something that for a lot of defensive backs going to the collegiate level is something they often struggle with. Demetres Samuel Jr., not so much. You get into the film, there's a couple of things that, I really, really like, and I wanted to cut it up and kind of just focus on the defensive back film because, again, you take a look at him as a wide receiver, a guy that certainly could play offense for the Florida Gators. I think most people see him as a defensive back. I really do like the cornerback skills. One, really, really smooth in his transitions, going from back pedal to running with wide receivers. But I think more importantly, he's so comfortable when that football's in the air, right? No question marks about the long speed, but when it's time to go up and make a play in the football, it always seems like Demetres Samuel Jr. is really comfortable going up and making plays, which again, I think comes from the wide receiver background, but that's also something that you see a lot of defensive backs struggle with at the high school level, the quote unquote, we know why you're playing defensive back because you can't play the football in the air. That's not true with Demetres Samuel Jr. He's long, again, really, really smooth in the back pedal. When it's time to turn and run, he certainly can do so and then go up, make a play on the football. Again, this is a guy that's going to be able to manufacture some turnovers for the Florida Gators. Go back to the 2023 season, Florida had 3 total interceptions. Demetres Samuel Jr., a guy that can make turnovers happen. I think the second thing you really like is the technician he is in man coverage. or just, I mean, as a cornerback in general, you take a look here, we're breaking on the football. Again, really, really clean with the transitions as we pull that play up again. When it's time to break on the football, take away a throwing window, Demetres Samuel Jr. can fire down and make plays. And I think lastly, you really do like the instincts and what he can do squeezing guys out to the boundary. Again, this is kind of textbook stuff. Backpedal, transition. When that football's in the air, we're just squeezing out that wide receiver, making the wide receiver run out of real estate. Those are all the things that kind of flash with Demetres Samuel Jr., a guy that, again, massive commitment and a reclass to the 2025 class because Florida needed defensive backs in this 2025 cycle. I think, secondly, want to talk about another 2025 commitment coming from Joseph Mabachu from Grayson in Georgia. There's no film to watch. This is a guy that just started playing football a couple of months ago, started playing spring of his junior year. What's so fascinating about Joseph Mabachu, the physical traits. I mean, he's 6'6", he's 285 pounds. He looks like a guy that could carry 320 pounds, no problem. I mean, he is kind of yoked up, for lack of better terms, at 6'6", 285. He's a phenomenal athlete that displays tremendous athleticism for that size. I think what Billy Napier's thinking here is, hey, it's really hard to find guys who are 6'6", 285 that move as smooth as Joseph does. And so although there's not a ton of film for us to go off, although he's not the best football player yet, that's one of those guys we want to stash away and see what they kind of turn into going into year 2, year 3, year 4 within the program. You've seen Florida do that a couple times with these kind of prospects. The last guy I want to talk about, Devin Jackson in the 2026 class, long-rangey safety, 6'1.5", 195 pounds, a guy that can come up and be a kind of a box safety, probably could play that star position, definitely operates well as a free safety, versatile defender in the back end. Again, Austin Armstrong wants to fill the defense up with these kind of guys. And if I'm Florida fans, and one of the things that I'm most excited for is it seems like Billy Napier knows the kind of guys he wants to build this program with, right? There's been some success on the recruiting trail, but specifically with guys like Devin Jackson, Demetres Samuel Jr., with Austin Armstrong kind of laying out what they want to do on defense. I feel like Billy Napier is not just grabbing guys to grab guys. He's grabbing guys with the intention of, hey, how do they fit what we want to do on the football field? And I think that's really important. You look at a program that does a really good job of that, it's Michigan, not necessarily going star hunting, but grabbing guys that fit what Michigan wants to do. Not a ton of programs do that. I think that's the most successful way to go about recruiting. And I think Florida is starting to kind of figure out what they want to fill their roster in with some of these kids from the high school levels. That's one of my biggest takeaways. We'll close it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.